Hey, what is up? This is AJ here. Welcome to the Fire from Heaven live listening party today. I don't know how many songs I'm going to be going over, and I might do this as sort of like a reoccurring thing every week. We might go back to like some of my older songs, and we'll listen to them together and talk about them. And I'll probably do some live playing stuff too, like performing the songs live and stuff eventually. Once I get it like set up to where figure that stuff out. Live video and stuff like that, live stream is just annoying to try and figure out when you're trying to have a live feed playing music and stuff like that, but I'm kind of figuring out. But we're going to listen to some exclusive music, give you a taste of what's on the Patreon page. For those who haven't joined, I have like several exclusive songs on Patreon, plus Patreon fans get early access. There's like 2 new songs on there that won't be available for like another month or 2 months, actually, I think. So early access and lots of exclusive stuff, but I wanted to showcase what I got over there and share with you on this exclusive live stream for so you guys to check out and hear what's over there. Give you a taste. Maybe you want to go and check it out. Got tiers as low as like $197, and it's a great way to kind of support me on a consistent basis, help me keep creating. But even if not, seriously, I always want to say this, like just sending my content to your friends or whatever, sharing stuff, engaging in the stuff I post is massively helpful. So, but with that, we're going to go ahead and jam the song, and I think we'll jam the song first, and then I might share some things about it, like the inspiration and the story behind it and stuff like that. And just like as a before we get started, like basically what I'm doing is I'm working on 2 albums at the same time because I'm writing an exclusive album for Patreon members. So I'm doing an album I think is going to be called Dark Side, but it also might be called Confessions of a Darkling because that's kind of cool, and I wrote a song titled that. And so far I think it's the best one on the album that I'm working on. So but yeah, so I'm working on the album Dark Side. The name's still not for sure, and then the Hellstormer, which will be my public release. And I'm pretty sure that's what the name's going to be. It may change, but very likely going to be just called the Hellstormer. But Dark Side, I'm kind of like not exploring. I'm kind of using like mythical monsters and stuff like that. Especially the kind of like seductive type of monsters in mythology, and kind of like comparing them to like modern day monsters in a way, I guess. And sort of using the mythical monsters as inspiration, and to kind of like express, things that people struggle with today. We may not have, mythical monsters such as sirens and stuff like that pulling us into the deep, but we have things like pornography pulling us very deep into addiction and things like that. And so I kind of like draw a line between those two, sirens and pornography, and like how I don't know how to explain it. We'll get into it more. But there's this mythical creature called the Yara, which is what this song is called. It's called the Yara's song. And where it's basically a similar creature to the siren. And it's kind of like this creature that has an enticing song that lures men to their deaths. See where there could be like a comparison to pornography there. Some people may disagree, but it kills the soul. Overstimulates. It makes life not pleasurable. Let's get into it. The Yara's song. And I'm just going to be like share just a little bit about it before we get into it. Like, the idea was to sort of make something repetitive that's stuck in your head in some ways to kind of like what's the word? kind of like simulate that Yara's song, like how it just would get in the stories I've heard about it. It would just get stuck in a man's head to where it's like the only thing he could hear, all he could think about, you know. See again where there can be like the, you know, drawing the lines to pornography and stuff like that. So, but we're gonna get into it. I'm just gonna be quiet for the most part. We'll listen to it and I'll talk about it. Can't help air guitar.
To
getting close. This one's pretty pretty long. My soul. Yeah, I forgot how long that one is. That's like 6 minutes and 30 seconds. Yeah, that one's long. And it's the only part that ever repeats is like the pre-chorus and the chorus. And like that's one of the first songs I'm actually experimenting with doing like throat singing, like trying to like sing a chorus while doing that. So I kind of do it in the background, then I do it with just some normal vocals. I'm not a great singer, but the idea is like I know I'm not a great singer, so I'm doing more of like a rough sounding, clean vocal intentionally. I know I don't hit all the notes. Okay. There's a lot I can dissect in this song because, like I said, there's a lot of words. I'm a storyteller. I'm a myth maker. Okay, there's a lot of words. But it's all just kind of like describing the Yara's song, and just it kind of like using the myth of the Yara to describe like the intensity and storytelling, the effects of addiction to pornography. And I'll try and be quick because usually when I do these videos, like do videos where I go through my lyrics, it takes forever, especially on the long songs. So I'll try not to be too long. So I start out in the song like rumors of a wretched beast, and then the next line, all you see is a beast in the cage. You can't see the man who's drowning in the deep of a meaningless sea. So there I'm kind of like reflecting back on my own journey and my own struggles with this addiction, and how people see anyone who's addicted to anything as like these horrible people. And metal is about exaggerating things. It's also about realism, and this is the reality of how at least people in my world view this kind of struggle. Like it's it's like this horrible thing. Like how could you struggle with that, especially for someone who's a Christian, and that's it's a very like dramatized description of how it feels, at least I don't know how it feels, like how people view you, I guess. And that's what makes confession a difficult thing, which sucks because that's kind of like the first steps to healing from it. But the thing is people just don't realize the kind of damage it does, and just how much it warps your view of other people, especially the opposite sex, in just a horrible way. And it is, we'll call it what it is. It is, a beastly thing, to be honest. But as like in Christian circles, like we hate the sin but love the sinner, you know, that kind of thing. And it's, I don't know, I'm being real here with about how my journeys felt, you know, struggling with those things. And then I go on the next line: a century of blood and tears from the oceans and the rivers, her song always finds my ears. Radiant beauty on the outside, ravenous banshee, wailing and singing with enchanting delicacy. So, kind of, again, describing in exaggeration that what the struggles felt like. It's felt like a century, you know, of just blood and tears, like it, you know, exaggerated. Again, that's metal for you, but it's exaggerating something to, you know, emphasize the importance and the what's the word? Of course, I can never think of it. The importance and the how urgent it is. So that's what I was trying to think of. The urgency of it, like to deal with this problem. That's why a lot of times metal exaggerates those things, because we're being real about the urgency to do something about this, or, you know, the urgency, or just how real it is, you know, and just that we see things, you know, at this exaggerated level because that's really, to be honest, how we see them. Just describing this monster and you know, the struggles of it from the oceans, the rivers, basically just saying wherever I am, her song always finds my ears. Like no matter what I'm doing, this song, you know, it's always calling out to people who struggled with it. It's always echoing. It's always, almost always there. And especially for those who have like struggled with it for years, and this can be for any addiction, you know, it's just like the way our minds work when we do something so repetitively, it just becomes ingrained. And it's very hard to break that. It is possible, but you have to start constantly doing things on a daily basis to filter that out and to put something positive there. And it's a very long and difficult journey. You know, it's just describing the difficulty of it. It's radiant with beauty on the outside, but inside it's a ravenous banshee. And, you know, it's enchanting and it's enticing, you know, again, like this goes for any addiction. This is how it is. I personally don't know the struggles of being addicted to like drugs, for example, but I feel like it's a similar thing where it's like something that's just always on your mind, something that's always there and very, very difficult to get rid of no matter what you're doing. Now, next line is, her song haunts me day and night, in my nightmares, in my dreams. O foolish heart of mine, why did I not heed the words of Solomon? So, just again describing how haunting the song is. It's always there, whether you're having a nightmare or a dream. And then just saying with regret, O foolish heart of mine, and I'm alluding to like the words of Solomon in Proverbs, where it's like, do not, you know, go the way of the seductress. You know, all of his verses on that, especially in the first, there's like 9 chapters of Proverbs where he's writing to his son, and a lot of it is like, pursue lady wisdom, not lady folly, and, you know, this seductress. And that I actually kind of go into explaining that a little bit. The next line is, there is a woman named Folly turning wise men into mummies, preserved in death while still among the living. Will this be my final breath, or will there be a resurrection? So going into that woman named Folly, and just describing it, because as you know, turning wise men into mummies, just describing that, like, you know, anyone is capable of falling to these kinds of things, you know, to addictions, whatever it is. Anyone, from the highest to the lowest in, you know, political stature or whatever, and political stance, religious, whatever, you know, the circles are of people. Anyone from the highest to the lowest is capable of these kinds of things. And everyone's vulnerable to it. And the kind of effects that like long-term effects of this struggle, it's as if you're like turned into a mummy or a zombie, you know, in the sense that you're basically dead while you're still alive, you know. It's again an exaggerated truth, but it's still a truth, and it's being exaggerated because it needs to be exaggerated. It needs that the consequences need to be realized, you know, the long-term effects of these kinds of things. And, you know, just describing it, preserved in death while still among the living, that's what it feels like you're almost like a death of soul while you're still just like an empty shell. That's almost what it feels like. Then going into the next line, oh, how I dread the moments I'm vulnerable, when her song is most beautiful, when her touch is delightful and her lust is delectable. It is inconceivable the monster that takes hold when I'm alone, becoming the instrument of my own hell. Oh, you might hear babies yelling in the background. I have those in a lot of my videos. So, again, just constantly describing like that what this struggle is like, especially when I'm vulnerable, you know, and alone, you know, that's when you're most vulnerable. It's like you're like an antelope outside of the herd, and those are always the ones that the lions get. You know what I mean? That's like what it's like. Jeez. I hope you guys can't hear that. Oh my gosh. Kids, parenting is awesome. It's worth it. Trust me. But, you know, we're real here at Fire from Heaven Studios. I'm not going to cut out any mistakes. I can't cut out any mistakes. You know, we're live here. So, and by the way, if I don't respond to your comments since we are live, like, I'll try to come back to them later, because it's just hard to switch back from like looking at this and looking at the comments and stuff. But I will come back to them. But anyways, where was I? Describing, you know, when the song is most beautiful, like when you're most vulnerable, and, you know, just how much I dread those moments, because I know that I'll be vulnerable. There are obviously things you can do to prepare for those and plan for those and try not to allow those moments to happen. But no matter how hard you try, they're always going to happen. That's why, you know, even today, some of the things that have been helpful, like accountability software or whatever, all those things like that, those are great. But to be honest, let's be real, there's ways around them and they are helpful. But when you're vulnerable, and, you know, like in the last, like in this line, it says, it is inconceivable the monster that takes hold. Like when you've spent years just having that same pattern over and over, and you're still fighting to establish a new, you know, line of thinking and a new cycle, it's crazy how difficult it is to keep that under control when you're so used to it, especially after years of it. It's not an easy thing, and whenever you're so used to that, you're going to be more vulnerable and more vulnerable to this monster that takes hold, and it's very easy to find ways around it. You know, that's why the emphasis, you know, like, I'm not against accountability software, but it does not work in the end. There has to be a change of thinking, a change of heart, a change of mind, you know what I mean? Like that, and that takes time. That's why there needs to be more grace in these kind of things, and needs to be, you know, more help and more safe places for people to talk about it and confess things. You know, there's a difference between grace and acceptance. There should be no acceptance for this kind of thing, you know? And obviously I'm addressing like church circles, you know what I mean? For those of you not in church and stuff like that, it is helpful having a church family, but the right church family, because some people can just be so set on how wrong the thing itself is. They see you as this monster, and that there just needs to be an understanding that a change of heart takes time. Doesn't mean it's not happening, it just takes time. A lot of this is like something like very deeply rooted in me, and deep struggle I've dealt with my whole life. So anyone else who ever feels like reaching out because you don't have that kind of family, feel free to reach out, you know. But going into the next line, I hear the Yara's call, her song so sweet and false. Her voice draws me in, such an enticing sin. The melody so haunting, it echoes in my soul. I'm ensnared by her song, I've lost all control. So, again, like, this is dramatized. I repeated myself saying that so many times in this, but that's what it feels like. Okay, I'm not saying this is how it is and I don't have any control over myself, and that's obviously a mindset that really needs to shift. I'm just describing what it feels like. I'm not saying this is like necessarily my mindset. I'm just going into deep, dramatized description of the struggle of addiction, specifically to pornography. Her words like venom, poisoning my veins. I'm powerless to resist. I'm caught in her chains. The Yara sings of love and lust, of passion and desire, but I know the truth. Her song is a funeral pyre. So there's that deep knowing that it's not true, you know, but yet, again, that's like just years of it, years of a set of thinking of the same thoughts just over and over in your head. Those are ingrained. They are hard to remove. They are possible to remove, but they're very difficult. This is why I'm going into such a dramatized description of this struggle to keep people from ever getting that deeply rooted in it. I know it's obviously like a massive struggle people deal with, but to as a word of warning, you know, that's why I wrote this, but also, you know, to relate to people and to just let people know that you're not alone in that, because it's a very real struggle that it's getting better for people to talk about, but it's still like not talked about as much as it should be, how bad it is. People treat it like something that's not that bad, and maybe, you know, I'm not even going to say anything. I'm not even going to touch on that. It's not. You know, it's completely desensitizing and teaches you to view your fellow man as an object, you know, and it desensitizes aggression and really terrible things that actually happen in the world. All around, it is not good. It's not a healthy thing at all. Yet it's a freaking massive industry. And something needs to be done about it. Now I gotta remember where I left off. Now I go into the chorus lines. Piercing my mind, my heart, my soul. I'm trapped by her song, I can't break the hold. Deadly beauty, her lure is strong. I'm entranced by the Yara's song. And wait. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, I think I did it all. I thought I skipped something accidentally, but I didn't. Just again describing the kind of like how much it pierces your mind. Like I'm going like into very deep description, mind, heart, and soul. And that's again what it feels like. whether that's true or not, whether it actually reaches into your soul, may not be. I think it does, to be honest. It's kind of like a trickle down effect. It starts to affect your mind, then it goes to your heart and your soul. They all affect each other. They're all part of you, all part of one being. So when one's affected, it'll affect the others. Now the line after that is, now listen to the dirge of my death. And this is being very exaggerated, like describing it as like basically like this is the song of my death. That's like just a really dark description of like, but it's just like what it feels like. It's like basically saying like this is like something I'm just gonna struggle with till my death. That's what I'm saying. And I'm gonna keep going pretty far. I still have a lot of the song to share. The Yara leads me to the edge, the brink of my existence. I'm falling faster, deeper, there's nowhere left to go. Her song is my undoing, and mine shall become unsung. And just like what I'm saying there, it's like I'm gonna be, like, basically my song, my life is being engulfed by her song, is what I'm saying there. I'm blinded by her song, corrupting all beauty. That's what pornography does. It corrupts beauty. The essence of beauty, it corrupts it. Everything I see twisted by the inflated lust of the beast. And, interestingly enough, this doesn't fulfill us, That's why we want more and more and more of it, because it's desensitizing and it doesn't fill you up. It just inflates your lust. It makes it worse because it's not being fulfilled. That's why it's such a big problem, because it leads to people doing even worse things to try and fulfill that inflated lust. There are a lot of terrible things that happen in the world because people are trying to fulfill this lust, this deeply rooted human need for connection. And it's doesn't really matter, It doesn't matter how genuine your desire is to be filled. If you're filling yourself with poison and you're poisoning others while doing it, it's wrong. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter if there's people trying to fulfill this genuine need if they're filling it with poison. That's what this is. It's a genuine human, God-given desire and need for human connection that is completely corrupted and destroyed, basically. Then going into exaggerated description of myself, I'm the monstrosity, the abnormality, and then describing, lost in the woods, I heard her calling, like a voice so sweet, so haunting, drawn to her like a moth to flame. I knew not then I was the one to blame. She sang of love and promised joy, but now I see it was all a decoy. Just describing kind of like my journey getting drawn into it. At first it seems like, especially at a young age, like you're curious, you don't know about yourself, your body and stuff like that. And it seems like to be a good thing, promising love and joy, and stuff like that. But it's not. It's not. It's the opposite of that. Next few lines. Yara's call was alluring, but I should have seen the warning. Her beauty hid a dark, twisted soul, and now I pay the price for not keeping control. I know now the Yara's call was a test of my will, and I failed, I must confess. But I won't give up, I'll fight to break free from the Yara's grasp and my own foolish decree. And after that, I repeat the pre-chorus and the chorus. So, just describing like, these things, like, they can make us or break us, and they're massive test of will, and I'm convinced now it's just going to be a lifelong struggle and a test of my will. And not just of my own personal will, because that's going to fail time and time again. But the one thing I do believe is there's always, this God-given choice to choose. To choose to keep struggling or to just be, for basically, like I said earlier, like her song to engulf my song, this addiction, whatever, to engulf my life. That's what basically, like, the song there is like allegorical to my life, and my life becomes unsung, untold, like a story untold, like it was never there, basically. But it's still a massive test of will, because it is. Even if you go for a very long time breaking that habit, it can so easily take root again, and it can easily just engulf your life again very quickly. So it is still a test of will. Yes, they're like, from a Christian perspective, we believe in Christ as our salvation, and that we don't have to save ourselves, but that still the goal of God, and Christ sacrificing himself was that we would not only live in heaven, live in his presence and live, like after this life, but that we would live this life free from sin too. It wasn't just like we're just gonna wait through this life until either he returns or we die and we go to him. He wanted us to live, a life fulfilled here and now, free from sin. And that, that's what we believe is possible, but there's still the matter of your own choosing. He still leaves that choice up to you when it comes to your daily life and what you're struggling with, and whether or not you're going to keep fighting it or be engulfed by it. You're going to get into like deep topics like predestination and stuff like that. I'm not trying to like do that all. One thing I know is like he's given us the personal power, in the sense that we have free will, and we get to make a choice. Whether or not he knows the outcome of any choice we would make, and he predestined us in that way or not, that's all up for debate. But one helpful thing I've heard when it comes to this topic is we are predestined to choose, rather than saying we're fated to fall, or things like that. We are given the ability to choose. We're destined to choose. So that is basically all I have for this song. And I don't know how long we've been recording. Jeez, 40 minutes just on one song. I think I will make this kind of like a either once a month or once a week kind of thing. I'm still trying to think if I want to go back and talk about other songs and listen to them, because I don't know, Facebook's annoying. And they say only use music you have the rights to. Well, I use music I have the rights to, and they still freaking, like, one time blocked my content. I'm like, dude, I have the rights, but you have no way for me to prove to you I have the rights. So it's really frustrating and annoying. Maybe they fixed that. But I'm just saying I may not be live streaming any like listening party to my old music, but do more music in the future. I'll kind of share some of the exclusive music, trying to put words together into one word, and talk about it. And maybe you'll want to go and join the Patreon. But like I said, if that's something you can't really afford, a free way you can help support this project in a massive way is by sharing stuff around, engaging in the content. Seriously though, like financially, it helps, because Facebook pays me for engagement and stuff like that on my content, so So as annoying as Facebook is with some things, they're really great with other things. So seriously, if you can't afford to subscribe to the Patreon, that helps financially by sending this to a friend or something like that, or inviting friends to check it out, or, you know, tagging friends, whatever. All of that helps massively. And thank you to those of you who do share stuff around and engage in the content and everything. And thank you for joining this live. And if you want to hear some new music, I have some songs upcoming, new releases. I just released a new song, but the new upcoming songs, like in the next month and the month after, won't be available publicly streaming platforms at all, but they will be available on my shop. I'm actually going to go and upload one of them after this. So you'll be able to find my next song, Day of Indignation, featuring the vocalist from Hard Look. And it's a great band, a great guy, and sick vocalist. And it sounds sick. It's going to be brutal. You can jam it. You'll definitely be able to go and check it out after watching this. So you can buy directly from me. That's a great way to support. It's going to be $1, and you get a digital download. But thanks again for joining, for engaging in the content I make, and I'll see you in the next live stream. I might make this like a weekly, every Friday kind of thing, but we'll see. I'll definitely schedule it ahead of time, so you'll see it before I post it. Stay metal, stay mythical. Oh, forgot to stop the recording.